So we're going through these questions and trying to get an understanding. And we've already addressed what we're using the asset for, or for what am I using the asset. And that's really to try to assign a responsibility center or a profit center, right? Profit center, cost center, whatever. It's really more of a management accounting discussion. We'll get into a little bit of that later. We'll get into some of that later on in the semester. How long we're going to use the asset, we started discussing what's the useful service life. It's an estimate, and it can be driven by a number of different factors. Your decision. Now we want to get into when I'm done using the asset, what am I going to do with it? And if I choose to sell it, how much will I get? Those two things we want to start addressing next. So when we get to the end of a service life of an asset in property, plant, and equipment, there is likely some amount of value that maybe somebody wants to buy. You know, think about a car, a used car, right? You've used it up, even though maybe you've driven it 10 years, somebody's still going to pay some money for it. How much ever it is, there's going to be some amount of money that we're going to have at the end. So when we get to the end of an asset, right, we're looking at what are we going to do with it when we're done. End of life disposition. That's what we're trying to figure out. So end of life disposition. So when we get to the end of the useful service life, are we going to keep on using it? Potentially. When I'm done using it, am I just going to throw it away, or am I going to try and sell it? So end of service life. Do I trash it? Sell it? Or keep using it? And I'm going to add that in keep using it, I may need to make upgrades to it. Significant upgrades just to extend its life. So I've got to start thinking about that stuff up front. Now, this piece, keep using it, I don't have to make that decision at the initial stage of buying or constructing this property, plant, and equipment. But trash it or sell it, those two I might have to think about up front. So if I decide to sell it, or even if I decide to trash it, I've got to come up with what I think is the estimated value at the moment in time I plan on selling it or trashing it, and that's usually going to be the end of the service life. So I need to come up with an estimate of the value so we need to estimate the value at the end of the service life. And how do you do that? Well, look at previous assets you've had and how much they were worth at the end. Look at resale markets. for similarly aged assets. Yes. All right, we got to come up with some value. We have to come up with some value at the end of the service life. Right? This is a critical piece. Right? Along with what's the service life. And the reason why these are so important is this helps me understand the costs that I put into this property, plant, and equipment. This helps me understand, well, if I know I'm going to use it for this long, it cost me this, and it's going to have a value of this at the end, then the difference between what I paid for it and what I'm actually going to get for it at the end, or what I think the value is going to be at the end, that this difference here represents the costs that are going to expire over the service life. And how do we allocate those costs over that service life is the next question. Is what kind of economic model am I going to use to demonstrate how those costs should be allocated? So what we're trying to figure out now is, given the service life, I'm going to trash it or sell it, but even if I trash it or sell it, what do I believe is going to be the value at the end of that service life by using your prior experience, resale markets from similarly aged assets, or just make a guess? This is also an estimate. So we've got two estimates, this value and what I believe the useful service life to be. Two estimates in trying to figure out how to account for this stuff.